is with us. Sanjay, let me get your analysis first. You're our chief medical correspondent. You're also a neurosurgeon. Your reaction to what we just heard about Hillary Clinton's health from her press secretary, Brian Fallon.
Brian Fallon painting a picture of Hillary Clinton as someone who gets this diagnosis on Friday of pneumonia, but sort of wants to power through things. Not clear how sick they thought that she was, how serious this pneumonia was, but she wanted to sort of get through it. And by Sunday, when we all saw this video of just the impact that the pneumonia, probably in combination with other things like the weather outside and maybe some of the medications that she was taking, when it all sort of came to a head, then it was all of a sudden a wake-up call that this was pretty serious for her. It was having an impact on her. To be fair, she seems to, it was short-lived, this episode. Within an hour and a half to 2 hours, she was back outside, smiling and talking to reporters. What I think is interesting here is we still don't know a lot of things, Wolf. Pneumonia is a serious diagnosis. It's more serious, as you said in the interview, in someone who's over the age of 65. We still don't know exactly what is causing this pneumonia, what type of bacteria or virus is causing this pneumonia. We think it's a bacteria because she's on antibiotics. We don't know if she got a chest x-ray for this pneumonia, and if so, how much of her lungs are involved in this. Those may sound like very specific questions, but they speak to how long is it going to take for her to recover? How serious is this? Some people need to be hospitalized. They take weeks and weeks to recover. Some people have more of the colloquial walking pneumonia and don't take that long. It seems maybe that's what she has, but we just don't know. So there's still, there was information that was slow to come, and there's lack of it, Wolf.
But at least we know it's not the contagious form of pneumonia, because I read a lot about pneumonia last night, and the contagious form can be spread if you're coughing a lot. We did see in the last week a couple of really significant moments when she was coughing a lot during public presentations.
Well, you know, and that's a good question and a good point you raised. Here's what typically is the story around contagious pneumonia, is that pneumonia can be contagious, and bacterial pneumonia can be contagious, as can viral. I think the point that Brian was making, and maybe this is what he heard, was that after you start to get treated with antibiotics, within a day or so, you're not as contagious. You may still be a little bit contagious, but not very contagious. But earlier, prior to the diagnosis, certainly prior to starting the medications, it's a good chance she was contagious. And look, she may have gotten it from somebody else in the office. She may have given it to somebody else in the office. You brought up the point that there were several people in the office who got sick, at least one person pretty sick. So it was being spread around. Where exactly the source was, we don't know. But I think it probably was contagious, at least at one point.
Remind our viewers, Sanjay, because you're an experienced a journalist in addition to being a neurosurgeon. 8 years ago when John McCain was running for president, he was also at the time, I think, around 70 years old. He released an enormous amount of information, and you were invited to go to speak to his physicians and really press and get a lot more information. So far, neither of these two candidates this time around has been willing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Wolf. In 2008, Senator McCain was much more forthcoming at that point. I'm not sure if it was because of some of the pressure about releasing medical records. What he did was sort of an interesting, what the campaign did was sort of an interesting tactic. They brought a few reporters. I think there was 4 or 5 of us. We flew to Arizona. We were taken to this area that was a private sort of room. Hotel, and then in that room there were a few stacks of medical records, and they were big stacks of medical records. He was very thorough in what they released, probably a foot tall worth of medical records, and they basically said, look, we're going to give you several hours to look through the medical records. You couldn't take any cameras in or any kind of recording devices. You could just take a notebook in and make your own notes and go through it to the extent that you wanted to. And that's what we did for several hours, and then came out and was able to report on it. It wasn't enough time, frankly, to go through that many medical records, but certainly it was an opportunity to look at all sorts of things dating back decades, everything about physical health, mental health. He had a history of melanoma. That was all in there. So it was a fairly transparent release. We could have used more time, but it was a fairly transparent release of his medical records at the time.
I think all of us would like to have a similar opportunity this time around. I'd love you, for example, to go speak with the physicians for both of these presidential candidates. Hillary Clinton next month will be 69 years old. Donald Trump already is 70 years old. Sanjay, stand by for a moment. Sure. I want to get some political reaction.